In Tehran, rescue workers from the Red Crescent are at full stretch. The Americans and Israelis can fly virtually unopposed over Iran to drop their bombs. And far from here in Washington, D.C., President Trump says that means the regime is so badly beaten that it's talking to the U.S., desperate for a deal.
And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone.
But this was Bahrain after an Iranian strike. This war is a clash of arms, ideologies, and messages. Iran's regime is not following Donald Trump's script. It has not collapsed. It's hitting U.S. allies, creating a regional war of attrition to make the most of the missiles and drones it has left. And it's thwarted his assumption that U.S. and Israeli power would guarantee a quick and devastating victory leading to regime change. The focus is now on the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow exit from the Gulf. Iran has effectively blocked it, cutting off 20% of the world's oil and gas supplies. Donald Trump has postponed his threat to destroy Iran's power grid if it wasn't opened, potentially a war crime, now claiming that Iran is offering big concessions.
They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
One of America and Israel's justifications for the strikes, for going to war, was that Iran was on the point of making a nuclear weapon. But Iran's official position has always been that it doesn't want one. Israel doesn't believe that, but perhaps President Trump is prepared to do so if it helps him find a way out of a war that Iran is trying to turn into America's latest Middle Eastern quagmire. BBC Persian has talked to Iranians who doubt that there's an easy way out.
I don't think that they will negotiate. The Islamic Republic is very much in place right now. If you want to look logically at it, nor them nor the US have reached what they wanted. The ideology of the Islamic Republic is there. Even if war stops, it will start again at some point.
Trump is buying time for himself to take the war to another phase, maybe a ground attack. I don't think that he's going to make a deal with them.
And this is the USS Tripoli, leading the first of 2 U.S. Marine Expeditionary Units heading for the Gulf. Alongside talk of a deal, the U.S. is sending reinforcements. The Tripoli, coming from Japan, is getting closer. Another of these small but powerful amphibious forces, backed by their own helicopters and strike aircraft, has a long passage ahead from California. And it's expected that the Americans will also send troops from the 82nd Airborne Division. It is looking like a crossroads. If talk of a deal is wishful thinking, the war could escalate.
The United States is now getting closer and closer to the prospect of putting boots on the ground. The president seems to have absolute belief in the ability of U.S. military to deliver results, and he believes that taking over Iranian territory would force the Iranians to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
Even if there was a ceasefire or an agreement tomorrow, what has this done to the region?
This is an absolute catastrophe for the region, and it might come to haunt the U.S. and Israel for years to come.
This was Tyre in South Lebanon. An Israeli offensive against Iran's ally, Hezbollah, is intensifying. Israel has no desire to stop, believing it can finish off its most bitter enemy, Iran's Islamic Republic. And for all America's firepower, its president went to war without a defined objective or a clear exit strategy. Now, as he tries to find one, Donald Trump risks deepening the strategic confusion that Iran's regime is using, not just to survive, but to try to dictate the way this war ends. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News.